for everyone that's here today. Today's announcement and delayed vindication demonstrates that truth and justice always prevail over corruption and cover-ups, even if it's nearly 9 years later. My good name has been cleared, and my status as a law-abiding law enforcement official is solidly in place through this settlement. I am relieved to be moving forward and putting an end to this chapter in my life. This settlement should serve as a strong message and a stark warning to the Morris County Prosecutor's Office and the incoming Barbario administration to stop their political witch hunt campaigns of burying truthful reports of police corruption and punishing the honorable employees who report wrongdoing and do right by the community and the taxpayers. Had the Morris County Prosecutor's Office acted ethically and took action to investigate the wrongdoing I reported, as opposed to burying information to protect political people, this costly process could have been avoided by the taxpayers. During my long, arduous case, the Morris County Prosecutor's Office continuously buried substantiated information and looked the other way to misconduct within the police department. The Morris County Prosecutor's Office buried information when they were made aware of a former Parsippany police chief who submitted a false certification to a Superior Court judge about an officer from the Parsippany Police Department who was using the Ashley Madison Life is Short Have an Affair website for police purposes, when in fact there was never an investigation conducted into this website by the Parsippany Police Department. I have documents here for your reference. But the audacity of the Morris County Prosecutor's Office doesn't stop there. Prosecutors then tried to suppress a municipal judge's probable cause finding against a former Parsippany police chief for official misconduct for failing to provide documents that must be released to the public. These documents, these specific documents, would have shown specific cover-ups within the Parsippany Police Department. Again, the Morris County Prosecutor's Office went against their sworn duty to abide by the court's probable cause finding and looked the other way. Next, 2 years after I retired, I was served on Christmas Eve with bogus disciplinary charges by the Parsippany Police Department under the direction of the Barbario administration. The hearing officer that was hired by the township to hear this matter was told informally that if he did not rule in favor of the township, he was not going to get paid. And yes, you heard that correctly. Thankfully, the hearing officer did not succumb to this threat and ruled in my favor based on the evidence that was presented to him. Several years later, after Barbario was voted out of office, the hearing officer wrote to Mayor Soriano, the current mayor, asking to be paid for his services, which had been denied payment for almost 2 years by the Barbario administration. Not only did Barbario administration threaten this hearing officer, they followed through with not paying him. Again, when this information was brought to the Morris County Prosecutor's Office, they chose to bury it and take no action. Moving forward, incoming and current Parsippany council members must stop tolerating a mayor who abuses his or her power to wrongly prey upon principled employees who stand up for what is right. To put into proper context and the extent the Morris County prosecutors went to in suppressing evidence and abandoning their sworn commitment to uphold the law, I have all of the supportive documentation for your review and reference. With that being said, I am grateful to finally receive vindication for the attempts to smear my reputation, attempts to bring false charges against me, and attempts to prevent receipt of my police pension. I want to thank the entire Police Pension Board for unanimously voting in my favor and for their comments to the township attorney when they said that he should be ashamed of himself for playing politics with my pension. I can't adequately thank my family enough for supporting me during this entire ordeal, especially my mother, who did not live to see this day, but now can rest in peace with the settlement outcome. Thanks to my entire legal team and some of the members of the Parsippany Police Department who maintained their integrity in spite of their fear of political retaliation and did not let that dissuade them from providing truthful testimony. I truly appreciate my loyal and dedicated friends who stood by me and encouraged me to continue to fight until justice prevailed. As painstaking as this ordeal was, I hope my case serves as an inspiration to all dedicated employees elsewhere who stand up to corruption and not give up no matter how ugly the journey gets. The truth will always prevail. This badge, the settlement, and the settlement amount clearly show that. Thank you. At this time, myself and my attorney, Mr. Chris Deininger, will take any questions that you may have.
So you'll forgive me, I'm a newcomer to this, okay? So this is the first I'm hearing of the story. What is the lawsuit based on? Who are you pointing fingers at, and what does the settlement say?
So,
in a thumbnail, please.
So it's a whistleblower case, a SEPA case, that reported misconduct within the Parsippany Police Department.
Okay, and misconduct was by who?
Different officers, different employees, public officials.
And the misconduct considered was part of what? Well, what kind of misconduct?
What kind of submitting false payroll sheets, lying about specific documents that were seen that they said they never saw.
Okay, and then so how did that affect you then? How are you? Why did you bring the suit against?
Well, I brought the suit against them because they were coming after me with several internal affairs investigations, bogus disciplinary charges. After 2 years after I retired, they sued me with a civil suit.
And why would they be doing this?
I'm sorry?
Why would they be doing this?
My brother ran for mayor in 2013 and challenged, at that time, Mayor Barbario.
Okay, and how does one have that to do with the other then?
My brother lost by 88 votes in the 2013 election. So this all started around that time.
So it's a way of getting back from your brother for challenging the mayor, is that correct?
I believe that's part of it, as well as all the things that I've mentioned here. And there's several other documents that are here available for you if you want to take, and you'll see what I'm talking about. For instance, when they seized Department police computers, they had specific search word terms.
The prosecutor's office?
No, this was a private agency. Prosecutor's office didn't do anything.
Okay. And you were saying the prosecutors just sat on stuff and did not?
I say they sat on stuff, I say they buried stuff, I say they looked the other way on stuff. As I said, you'll see here about specific things, about a municipal court judge is finding a probable cause for official misconduct. It's here. The paperwork is here for you.
Okay. And
You'll see that.
And talk about the settlement. What exactly is the settlement, sir?
The settlement is for $1 million.
To you?
To me.
Okay.
Jim, can you speak to the timing of the settlement? I mean, with Jamie coming back into office, are you concerned that he would not settle, so you're settling now with Mayor Soriano while you still can?
So the question is, just for everybody's own edification, is that why settle now, basically, with the incoming mayor coming? So it's two reasons, Bill. I will say, first of all, that the main aspect of this whole lawsuit was to clear my name, right? To clear my name and to show that by standing up to public corruption is the right thing to do. Secondly, during this recent campaign for mayor, it was mentioned that the John Inglesino law firm would not be coming back in any form to the township of Parsippany. I personally do not believe that to be a true statement. I believe that he will be back in some form. With that said, instead of wasting hundreds of thousands of dollars of taxpayers' dollars, which I don't think is fair to the Parsippany residents, I chose to settle.
When did you start collecting your pension?
I collected my pension basically in the normal frame of when you're supposed to do it. It's a month after retirement. The township tried to block it twice. The first time when they blocked it, what happens, Bill, just so you know, is that, you work for 25, 26 years. In my case, I did 26 years. So when you work for 26 years, you're contributing to the pension that whole entire time. So because this was in limbo, when they tried to block my pension, the pension board originally said within the first 3 minutes of the hearing, said, listen, you're entitled to your money that you put in for the first 26 years. So that's usually about 2 years that you're collecting your own money. Then after the 2 years, you start to collect your full pension, which is the other people's money.
Right.
So they said, come back. If this isn't resolved in 2 years, you got to come back. Nevertheless, this issue was not resolved within those 2 years, and we had a hearing where the pension board, as you heard me say earlier, they voted unanimously in my favor, and specifically one of the longest standing members, Marty Barrett, said that the town attorney should be ashamed of himself playing politics with my pension.
And that was when?
That was in would have been, let's say, 2000, retired in 2013, 14, 15, 16?
Okay, so at least part of your pension was held up for
No.
3 years?
No, like I told you, is that the money that the police officers put in for the
Yeah.
amount of time that they're there.
Yeah.
So although they wanted to block my pension, the pension board said immediately, the first time in 2013, 14, listen, he's entitled to his money that he put in for the last 26 years.
Yeah.
If once that runs out, if this
Oh,
issue's
okay.
not resolved,
Okay, I got
you
it.
have to come back.
I got it.
Nevertheless, we came back, and that's in front of the hearing, and we had that hearing, and then you know
I
the
got
rest
it.
of the ad out.
I understand how it works now. Okay.
You retired with what rank, sir?
Captain.
And your brother?
My brother's a retired Morris County Sheriff's Office, and he's still a current council member in town.
And his
He
first
was a
name?
council member in 2013, ran for mayor in 2013, still a council member as of today,
And
with
his
no
name?
break in service.
His name, sir?
Paul Carifi.
Junior.
Junior. Paul Carifi Jr.
Yes.
Any other before I go? So, James,
Yes.
I'm glad you brought up the Ashley Madison thing because that was a big story that I worked on. So I had to do some research to get my facts straight.
Yes.
So on August 23rd, 2015, I wrote a story titled Parsippany Employees Linked to the Ashley Madison Leak. In that story, I disclosed a Parsippany police officer using their Parsippany email account on Ashley Madison. The Parsippany email account in question also links back to the officer's home address by doing a simple Google search. Could that officer using the Ashley Madison website been acting undercover or for personal use?
So in my opinion, no. And let me tell you why. Whenever a police officer is involved in a specific case, motor vehicle stop, pedestrian contact, there's what's called an incident report number generated. Each one is unique. Anytime there's some type of case, there's an incident report number. As you will see in the documents here on the table, the police department has no record of ever conducting any investigation into the Ashley Madison website. In addition, I will tell you, if it was undercover, that they would not use their township police department email address. This specific officer used the rpolice.com. So if it was an undercover investigation, they would have used a fictitious email.
Correct.
Yeah, I'm just grabbing copies.
What is actually, what is that?
Ashley Madison is that website that's an adult website
Chris,
for
are you gonna answer some
life is
questions?
short, have an affair.
It's a porn site?
Not a porn site, it's a dating website for cheaters.
I think that's deeper than my story's gonna go
A
today.
dating website for cheaters.
Yeah.
Yeah, where you go to have an extramarital affair.
Seriously?
Yes.
Seriously.
There were also.
You're not bullshitting?
No.
Howard Stern used to advertise it all the time.
There were also.
The website for it?
There were also
Good
other
holiday to you.
township employees.
Thanks,
linked to
Bill.
that, but I didn't bring that up.
Chris, you wanna come up and come
Yeah,
on up?
Come on.
But for since James brought this up, do you think the fact that Councilman Paul Carifi ran against Mayor Barry for mayor in 2013 played a part in this litigation, and if so, why?
As soon as I met Jim, and he first came to my office to retain me, he told me about what happened in a mediation in the Carifi SEPA case. And what he recounted to me happening in the mediation was that there was a suggestion that if he could get his brother to not run, that they would settle with Jim and promote him to captain. And Jim, I'm sorry, what?
Deputy Chief.
Deputy chief, sorry, promote him to deputy chief because he was already a captain. And the response Jim told me he gave through the mediator was, I can't do that, I don't control my brother. So based on things like that, and then seeing the course of this case evolve, I really feel that politics, vindictive personal politics, was a big component of what happened here.
Do you believe former police chief Paul Phillips lied under oath while providing testimony throughout any of the proceedings?
Well, I will say that I was gravely concerned that that was a possibility, and I must say that my concern was shared by the appellate division in their decision, which reversed and gave us a new trial. and specifically, it's the wrong paper. I want you to hear this because it's important. So this is the appellate division decision written by Judge Hoffman of the appellate division. And what Judge Hoffman said is plaintiff, meaning Jim Carifi, also presented evidence that then Deputy Chief Phillips, who later became chief, deliberately failed to schedule a deputy chief's test in 2012, notwithstanding plaintiff's specific request, period. Rather than deny the request, comma, then Captain Phillips told plaintiff he never saw the request, period. Next sentence by Judge Hoffman. Plaintiff presented compelling evidence that this response was clearly incorrect and constituted either a careless misstatement or a deliberate lie. In my 35 years as a lawyer, I've not seen a statement like this made by an appellate division regarding a specific situation.
I did plenty of stories on Aurora security systems. Why would the administration use a private computer firm, Aurora, as opposed to using a law enforcement agency regarding this case? And I believe it might be Attorney General guidelines that they're supposed to use the Attorney General or the prosecutor's office to investigate police computers.
So heaven only knows why a township official, the township attorney, would choose to use a private firm to investigate a computer, as particularly when the computer is thought to contain internal affairs materials which are secret. The only person that's allowed to see internal affairs materials, other than the people in internal affairs, would be the police chief. The mayor can't see it, the township attorney's not supposed to see it, so I have no idea why you would hire a private firm, particularly this one, because their fee schedule seems to be unusual, the amount they charge, and the head of the firm was found liable for civil fraud by a court in the Southern District of New York.
From what I gather, through my open requests, everything, they built a town over $700,000. If a law enforcement agency or the prosecutor's office did that work, what do you think the cost would be?
Well, I would presume that if it was done by the Morris County Prosecutor's Office or if it was done by the New Jersey State Police, that it would have been done at no charge or a minimal charge. But I'm not personally familiar with that. But I can tell you that the expert that we used to fight the township's expert charged us less than 1/10 of that for his entire credible work on the case.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.